Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal, Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said great. That was not a clickbait title. That is actually what this video is about. I wrote to some celebrities, whether it be directors, actors, anyone in the entertainment industry, athletes, singers, guitarists. I went on StarTiger.com, got, I think it's $5.95, so less than $6 a month, a subscription, which gives you access to many of the celebrities who I wrote to, their addresses that you can or that they respond to. It's also a really helpful website because it allows people like me and people that subscribe to update and say whether they got a response or if they got a response that said they expect cash or something like that. So that's what we're going to be doing today. 3 weeks before I left on my last trip, 20 people a week I wrote to. So what I do for mine is I send out 8x10s. I print them from home, so I buy a 100 pack of photo paper on Amazon for about $15 or $16. Then I buy a 100 pack of these, which are cardboard mailers. I like these because they prevent your photos from getting bent. You can get 100 of these for about $33. And then I also buy a 100 pack of these, which are 9x12. Or no, these are 10x13. This is 9x12 because this needs to be able to slide into that for you to send it off. So that's basically what I do. I buy 100 of these, they're about $30. So I've shown you videos before where I've bought grab bags from companies where you get 1 to 5 autographs, and those can be anywhere from $100 to $500. So this one came in about 200 bucks to send out to 60 people. And yeah, I used the resources online. I didn't write to people only if they respond. I wrote to people that I wanted a response from, so it could be anybody. If you want to participate, go on Amazon to buy your resources. I always use, if I'm sending 1 or 2 photos, I do 3 stamps out and 3 stamps back. This should always be your return. This should always be coming back to you. So I don't ever put a return address. I put the address I want it to come to, but I don't do like a if undeliverable, because I'm hoping that they'll just keep trying my address. So if I do anything more than 2 8x10 photos, and the reason I do that, I'll use 4 stamps each way. The reason I do sometimes more than 2 is not to be greedy, but you just never know what people are willing to sign and what they won't. Like with Francis Ford Coppola, I know that he generally will sign 1 per person. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 years to get it back. But that being said, I don't know if he'll sign a photo of himself or something from his project. So I sent a photo of him and a photo of the movie poster of The Outsiders. So hope you enjoy this vlog. Let's see who wrote us back. Daze with Jordan the Lion and you all. It begins right now. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. I only have 1 of these to open today. So I'm going to open this and then I am going to actually show you all the autographs that I collected over my last trip in person. I went to a couple of events where people from all over the map, as far as like TV, movie, music, history, all that kind of stuff. I have a lot of autographs and a lot of stories to share, so I figured I'll start it off with a familiar, which is the only envelope I have. I could feel 2 rattling around in there. And then we'll go ahead and go into what I collected in my travels. So, see who this is. No return address, nothing like that to give me any clues, so. Rosie Greer! Wow! Rosie Greer, baby. He was security. Oh, actually, I'll read this. He signed 1 of 2. So it looks like maybe that's his Maybe that's his normal, is that he signs 1 out of 2. But Rosie Greer was security for Robert F. Kennedy the time he was killed. It says, Jordan, thank you for the nice letter that you wrote. We appreciate your kind thoughts and obvious research if you've done about my life. God is the center of my life, and I want to please him in all that I do. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He doesn't get old, and he doesn't change. If you would like more autographs, you can send a $30 donation to Rosie Greer Giant Step Foundation. Fair enough. He signed 1 for free, and then everything after that he charges for. That's totally fair. I was telling her recently, I said, you know, like, that he's big into knitting, right? And she goes, what? Yeah, he has quite a history with being a knitter. So thank you, Rosie Greer. That is awesome. I'm happy. Okay, so this festival that I went to is kind of Walton and Little House on the Prairie and history heavy. So this was a handmade bag that I bought from Charlotte Stewart, who plays Miss Beadle, the teacher from Little House on the Prairie. And she makes a handful of these bags. I guess she comes every year and makes, I don't know, maybe 10 of them. And they're all different colors. They had some that had her and Michael Landon talking and different things like that. They're really well made. She sells those for $65 and signs them. But what's cool is that on the inside, she makes her own tag. She makes her own tag stating that she made it and everything. And then on mine, she signed underneath that. So let me see if I can curl this down for you a little bit. You can see it right there on the inside of the bag. Made by Charlotte Stewart, Miss Beadle, and then there's her handmade tag. I found that when we were out traveling in Walnut Grove, ironically, the Laura Ingalls Wilder Museum there, they have a handful of them there, and I mean, like, maybe they had 3 when we were there. So if you want one, you can find one there. Next, this was a true pleasure. I've wanted to meet this guy forever. From Mama's Family, I got to meet Bubba. Right up here, up top, Alan Kaiser. He signed my photo right there. He was so nice. He was basically what you would expect Bubba to be. He's a little bit toned down version of Bubba. Bubba's, you know, up on 11. Alan Kaiser's probably on 8. But he was so cool, so friendly to everybody, because as you know, a lot of people recognized him. A lot of people still watch Mama Family reruns, and a lot of people were coming up and wanting to meet him and weren't buying a photo, and he was still really gracious and kind to them. I can't always say that at conventions for other people. I did get to witness a kind of a funny moment. I hope he won't mind me sharing it, where he went up to Patrick Duffy and he basically said, Patrick, I hate to be that guy, but you were my idol when I was growing up. I used to watch you on TV. It wasn't Dallas. He mentioned something else, but he said, I hate to say it. I kind of wanted to be you. You know what I mean? That inspired me to want to come to Hollywood and be an actor and stuff. So I thought that was super cool to see him being a fan like the rest of us. Super nice guy, Alan Kaiser. I know he's been there before. I don't know how often he comes, but he was, I think they said this was the 2nd or 3rd time. That was a lot of fun. I hope they invite more people from Mama's Family. I intend on going in the future. Since I mentioned him, I'll show him. Patrick Duffy. I told him, I said, I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you this, but my mom named me after a character on Dallas, Jordan Lee. And he started laughing. I said, and she went into labor while watching Dallas. And he started laughing. He goes, oh my gosh. So he said, I got to make your photo out to Jordan Lee, right? I mean, just because of the show and stuff. I said, yeah, absolutely. So that was the famous, when they didn't know, you know, Bobby left and all that stuff. And they brought him back because it was a dream and he was in the shower. Patrick Duffy, absolutely nice guy. I'll say this about Patrick Duffy also. For him being kind of like the big star of the whole thing, if you bought a signed photo, I think he actually took selfies and stuff, took photos with you for free. Very nice guy. In fact, I saw him giving like different people from the festival like free signed photos. Like people that were working the festival, he wouldn't even charge them. Now this lady was awesome. She let me interview her. You probably saw the interview. Cynthia Pepper. She had her own show called Margie. She was in Kissing Cousins with Elvis, and that's what this is from. Just an absolutely nice lady. Couldn't have been nicer. Had some great stories. Told me about how before she was born, her father was married to Ginger Rogers. Not everybody can say that, but she had a wonderful career. Was in a lot of stuff, and if you want to see more, go to my video and check out the stories that she tells, the interview. We had a great time. She's big in the Elvis community. People that, you know, love Elvis. She still comes to the Elvis conventions and meets fans, and everybody loves her. Now this was a real pleasure. This is Secret Service agent, Special Agent Tom Wells. He was a Secret Service agent starting with Eisenhower, and this is when he was Secret Service duty with the Kennedy family. That's him with John Kennedy Jr. But he was actually watching Caroline the day that the assassination happened, and he did an interview with me on my channel and told the whole story. So if you're interested in what he was doing and what the kids were doing while JFK had been assassinated and the world was going crazy what they were up to, watch my video. He tells the whole story. He also tells what happened after they laid the president to rest, the request that Jackie Kennedy had the night that he was buried. A lot of fun meeting him. He was an ultra nice guy also. Now this one, I didn't know he was going to be there, but I mean, the voice of Bambi. He was also in like some really great horror movies, but I mean, Bambi just, you know, if you know anything about the Disney history, how important Bambi was to it. Donnie Dunigan couldn't have been nicer. He had an embroidered shirt that said voice of Bambi on it and everything. So he's certainly proud, and I bought this. I think he was only charging $20 for a signed photo, and you could take a selfie with him for free. And I saw them auction off this same photo in a charity auction the last night, and I think it went for $150 or $200. So true legend. I also had photos of him with Walt, because of course he knew Walt Disney. Now the next one, this is Betty Kennedy, and I recognized her as I walked past because I love the Cheech and Chong movies. I love the Cheech and Chong movies. And the guys are really, you know, they're actually pretty nice about signing autographs if you can find them. I know Chong signs autographs through the mail constantly, and so, you know, anybody that's in their movies I want to help support. So I think this was only $20. So this was from the next movie, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I actually really do like it, and I made the filming location video of it when I lived in Hollywood. So it was really nice meeting her. And then sitting right next to her was Kim Hopkins. And Kim Hopkins was also in Cheech and Chong movies. Her character name was Kim. So yeah, she was only $20 also. They both had done, you know, a lot of like random stuff throughout, but these were the things that were at their table that I was like, oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of Cheech and Chong. I gotta get it for my collection. Now this was a really fun one. This was probably the longest line that I waited in. Richard Thomas, John Boy Walton, but I didn't have him sign anything from the Waltons. I actually had him sign this picture from It, which I love. I love It. the Tim Curry, John Ritter version, one that we grew up with. And I actually asked him, because I know I'm planning on going to the Glen Sheen mansion, and I asked him about that. I said, do you think it's haunted? He said, well, I know that the lady that owned it at the time that we filmed there, because he's in that movie, he said, I know that she was murdered after, but he said, I didn't feel anything at the time because nothing had happened yet, but who knows? That's a big, crazy place. I could imagine that it would be. He was, his autograph was $30, and he was the only one that I did see that was charging extra for a selfie or a photo with him, and he was charging an additional $20. So I didn't take a photo with him. I feel like someday, they said he's there kind of every year. He's an invited guest every year. So I figure maybe I'll just get a photo with him some other time. It kind of adds up when you go to these things, when everybody charges $20 to $50. So this was really cool. This was a signed photo from Paul Landis. He was on Jackie Kennedy detail. He was in the Secret Service also, and he was in the car right behind the Kennedys. He actually saw the assassination take place, and he did an interview with me where he told the whole story of after it happened, and he's helping Mrs. Kennedy out when they get to the hospital, that he saw in the seat 2 bullets, one that had been mushroomed at the top, so it had been obviously hit something, and then one that didn't, was just had the strike marks from the inside of the rifle. And he says he picked that up, put it in his pocket, and when they went inside and John Kennedy was on the operating table, that he took it out of his pocket and left it there so that it would be part of the president's investigation, and that is where the magic bullet came from. So I got this signed photo from him. He's the, Clint Hill was also there that day, but he passed away. He was the lead agent. But they also had these, which were really interesting. These were signed cards by Paul Landis. And if I can get the camera to focus, those 2 pieces right there in the white box, those are pieces of the leather that was from the assassination limo. The different leathers that are made inside there. So I got one of those. Thought it was kind of like a once in a lifetime kind of deal. So really interesting keepsake. I think this was like 40 bucks. So got those 2. That was a really interesting experience hearing him talk about those. This is kind of crazy. This is an autograph from Sharon Baird, who was a Mouseketeer. She was in a lot of costumes throughout her career for like Land of the Lost and HR Puffin stuff and everything, but she was also Rat Boy. And there's a whole controversy. I mean, Rat Boy had a really kind of interesting cast, everyone from like Robert Townsend to Bill Maher, a lot of character actors that you would know, so it should have been successful. And it was directed by Sandra Locke, who was in the Every Which Way But Loose movies with Clint Eastwood. She was also had divorced Clint Eastwood, and so she ended up suing Clint Eastwood, saying that she was directing this movie and that he sabotaged it and made sure that it was a flop. And it went to trial, and I guess she won, but she never really got to do anything in Hollywood ever again. And so I asked Sharon, I said, I heard that she thought that she was blacklisted. What do you think? And she said, oh yeah, she totally was. She said, and I believe what she said too, because she said, Clint called me one night while I was working on the picture and said, do you have any photos of you and her on set? I'll buy them off you. And she said, I said, no, I don't. And I really didn't. But she said, after that, when I found out about, the rumors that he had told people not to work on the movie, she couldn't get good cinematographers and stuff like that. She said, I believe it because I know that he did call me trying to get stuff. So I assume that's probably true. And she said, if you think about it, that's a pretty awful thing to do to someone's career. And I said, yeah, it really is. Sad, because I'm a Clint Eastwood fan, but yeah, Rat Boy used to be on HBO all the time. It's kind of like a cult classic. The last person I did not meet at the Marshfield Cherry Blossom Festival in Missouri. I actually met him when he was touring with, it's Joel Murray right here. This is One Crazy Summer. And I met Joel Murray. Katie and I went and saw the stand-up comedy that he does. He's in the touring group of the, what's the improv group? Whose Live Is It Anyway is what it's called. And he's in that where they do a lot of improv. And we met him before the show and he was nice enough to sign that photo for us. I felt bad because I said, hey, you were nice enough to sign some photos for me through the mail. And he goes, yeah, you know what's crazy? After I signed them for you, like 2 or 3 weeks later, I got just bombarded with photos at my house. I haven't signed them, but he's like, I thought that was crazy. I go, I swear I did not give out your address. I don't do that. You know, I said, I appreciate you signing them for me, but that's crazy that he got that many. Thank you, Joel Murray. So that was basically all the people that I've met that you guys didn't get to see on camera. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great night and goodbye.